Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Friday night. It is the Earthmaster out here. About 9:30 p.m. California time, August 30th, 2024. Welcome to the weekend. Latest activity here on the globe shows, let's see what we got. 3.2 South America area. Also a 2.0 there in the Hawaii Big Island region. Looks like some activity there in Northern California as well, with a 2.6 here. Pretty shallow earthquake around the geysers. That's actually the hydrothermal plants out there in Northern California. There's a whole bunch of these plants that create some energy out here, but also at the same time they create earthquakes. Very interesting process out there. Look it up if you got a chance. I believe it's the Calpine Energy Solutions out there that operate in the Clear Lake volcanic field. There's a little earthquake there on the Cascadia megathrust area. That earthquake coming in this morning. Let's give a quick glance at the tremor map here tonight and see what we got. As far as Cascadia tremor, still elevated out here, 617 epicenters of tremor. That is down into the deeper areas of the Cascadia subduction zone, down there where the slippage, so to speak, here between the two plates takes place. And of course, upstream here you get the locked area. And I've been a firm believer here that the more tremor activity we see, the higher likelihood that we'll see a Cascadia event take place out here in terms of whether it's going to be a full unzip, 9.0 or greater, or just maybe a segment out here that sees a large earthquake take place. But yeah, it's pretty decent. 617 epicenters. And this basically stirred up, it looks like about, if we were to include the last 30 days, we can do that real quick. From 7:31 to 8:31 here. See what we got for the total tremor count. 1, 2, 3, 2, 4. So over 12,000 epicenters here of tremor. Most of this here in the last 30 days has been up here across the area of Washington and the Vancouver Island range. There was an interesting article here put out recently about this area, how there's not a whole lot of ridging going on out here across the Cascadia subduction zone, and they feel that area could segment itself in terms of just producing a large earthquake in this area compared to a full rupture of the entire Cascadia or a partial rupture here down south, which we've seen on occasion. They think that this area can throw out a little partial rupture as well. I'm not for sure exactly how big it'd be. I'm guessing around the lower 8. It's only when we get the full rupture out here of the Cascadia, which stretches from about the Queen Charlotte Sound area down to Northern California. Once that happens, then we see the large mega magnitudes there above 9.0. But that's a hefty amount of tremor, and it's about the largest that we've seen here in consistency since about 2022. October 2022 is the last time we've seen a bunch of tremor in this multitude here. So just kind of keeping an eye on it. Occasionally we'll see a couple smaller earthquakes work its way here at the surface level towards the locked area of the Cascadia. But for now, that sleeping giant continues to sleep. Let's not wake it up. Minimal earthquake activity through the Cascades for now. Further down south, the San Francisco Bay Area, fairly quiet. There's a number of faults out here that are, primed for some big earthquakes. Just a matter of time, I feel. 1.6 and a 1.8 in the last 24 hours. Not that big of a deal. Still seeing some earthquake activity down here across Bakersfield, Ridgecrest, and a couple regions down here along the San Jacinto Fault Zone. The San Andreas Fault continues to sleep as well. There's a couple sleeping giants out here we don't want to wake up. We did see one earthquake out here around the South Pasadena area. This is the thrust fault that sits out here, the Puente Hills thrust fault that recently seen some earthquake activity and made the news here. It's a blind thrust fault, meaning that you cannot see the fault there at the surface levels, and is capable of producing an upper 7 magnitude. And I still can't get a number on, or at least a time period, when the last rupture happened out here. Occasionally it happens every couple to few thousand years, and who knows when the last one was. The question is, how they determine when the last, that there's intervals of a couple thousand years there between major ruptures. They have to have known when the last one was out here. Anyway, this created a little bit of stirring up here in the news, national news as well, with this recent earthquake activity. A total tally specifically along the Puente Hills thrust fault is about 34 earthquakes. Not a big deal, but it's in an area here around Los Angeles, and in fact it goes a little bit further over here into downtown area. A 7.5 on that thrust fault there would be more dangerous, more hazardous in proximity compared to an 8.1 over here across the San Andreas fault, and that's got to do with location, right? By the time that the energy level reaches over here from that 8.1, it would actually be less than, say, for example, 7.5 directly underneath this area. That's Los Angeles's fear, I believe, and a good reason for that, because that fault system can produce some big ones. The question remains, though, when the last one was. I never heard back from Dr. Lucy Jones. I sent her a couple emails. I sent her a media request. She completely ignored me, and that I'm not mad. I just, I'd like to know. I asked her a simple question there: when the last one took place out here. If I was a seismologist, geologist, I would be, at least in the news media world, right? She's a face of the of earthquake activity when it comes to Southern California earthquakes. So when someone asks you, hey, when was the last one that struck out here on the Puente Hills thrust fault directly underneath Los Angeles? There's information about it, but no one seems to know when the last one took place there. So I would at least, say, I don't know. Be honest. I don't know when it happened, or maybe it was 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. Maybe that's why nobody's answering me. Anyway, it is what it is. I don't want to bug them. I know they have lives, but also we have questions, right? A little smaller earthquake here outside of the Agunda area. 0.5, very small earthquake, not a big deal at all. Nevada region still seeing some earthquake activity. Although it looks like things have tapered off here a little bit today. Not seeing a whole bunch of activity out there in Nevada this evening. Yellowstone National Park, let's double check that real quick. It is a super volcano, and sometimes it gets earthquake swarms, and sometimes it doesn't. And this is one of the times where it's been awfully quiet out here. Not a whole lot going on. These darker readings here are either thunderstorms or wind events. Sometimes we can see environmental noise such as tractors and whatnot out here as well. But these look like some wind events out here around Moose Creek, Idaho. In fact, I'll just double check just to show you guys here. I don't like to throw out words and not back it up. So let's see here what we got. Wind. We're going to go to a wind wind gust. And there's not a lot out here. Is there any thunderstorms? I don't see a lot there. But even the wind gusts are pretty quiet out here. So that looks like wind. But then again, that's not really showing up on any other stations out here. So maybe over here. It kind of looks like winds. Either that or maybe some amplification of the seismograph station itself. But most of the time when we check this, it comes out to wind. There's a little bit of wind at some of these higher peaks here. Maybe that's what we're seeing. 13 mile per hour gusts. All right, let's back out of here. Go down to the Middle America Trench here, where we got a recent 4.1 coming in around the area that's seen that large earthquake here yesterday. You guys remember that 6-pointer? 6.1 to be exact, just off the coast of El Salvador into the Middle America Trench. This whole area is actually showing a little bit of uptick here following that earthquake. Not specifically in the area where the main quake struck, but overall pattern out here is showing a little bit of movement. Now this area of the Middle America Trench, it could see some big earthquakes. Let's check this out real quick. We're going to go 7.0 and above historically. I'd like to check out this data on occasion in different areas. It's good to know what can take place out here along the Middle America Trench. It's a major subduction zone, and we're just going to cover, we got to cover a big amount because it goes down here as well to the Costa Rica area, southern end. So we use that 7.0 and above. Let's see what the USGS is going to show us here. So we've seen the 6.1 yesterday, right? Look at these. Look at some of these other magnitudes here. 8.2, 7.7. I mean, there's a lot of sevens here. 777 is, if you're lucky, that's a lucky number, right? I don't know about earthquake-wise, but they get a lot of upper sevens in there as well. So 6.1, especially with all the earthquake activity taking place here following that, that could be a sign that we're seeing some potential further possibility here for larger scale activity. Near the El Salvador area where the earthquake activity struck, we've seen there was a 7.3 back in 1982, a 7.0 back in 1929 there, 7.7, goodness, back in 2001. Here's a deeper, well, that's surprisingly shallow. I thought it'd be deeper being over here on the map. That 7.7 back in 1915. There's that 2001 quake. 1932, 7.1. 2014 to 7.3. 7.3. So a lot of older, I'm seeing a lot of older, larger quakes out here than more recent activity. So it looks like they do see some sevens on occasion out there. And the last one being what, 2021 or 2014, excuse me. I thought I seen oh, that was 2001 right here. So it's possible we could be looking at some larger scale activity out here. Just a little observation here that I noticed along the Middle America Trench here recently is that we're seeing that kind of spread out up and down the Middle America Trench area from yesterday's event. So just be on guard. Earthquake of an upper 7, lower 8 out here would, could produce a tsunami. Aside from the shaking out here, that type of magnitude and this type of subduction zone, they can produce tsunamis here, local and distant. So keep an eye. The overall pattern out here showing some uptick. Middle America Trench, or Caribbean plate here across the subduction zone of 4.3. That earthquake coming in this evening as well. A couple smaller quakes around the Puerto Rico Trench. South America area, let's see what we got. See, you can really see all that earthquake activity up and down the Middle America Trench here recently. A couple different segments of it, so we'll keep an eye on that. Look at this overall area showing quite a bit of strain. Goodness. Minimal activity down south along the Peru-Chile Trench here. A couple 2s, some 4s out there as well, but really that on any given day is common. The Mediterranean area, Middle East, the rest of the area out here fairly minimal. Not a whole lot of substantial large-scale activity. 2s and occasional 3s out there are the magnitudes there today. Japan area, well, the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench, right? Seen that recent earthquake activity here. A 6-pointer, right? That earthquake struck yesterday. Seen a couple more earthquakes in this area down south, though. Look at this. The last two earthquakes here in this area are much further down south and deeper, indicating some strain adjustment going on here. This is another area that I've been watching here for a little while for larger scale activity. Now, I know we've seen, what was it, 7.0 here on this segment of the subduction zone, northern end. But there's some potential, and just as big of an earthquake, or just as big as magnitudes that we can see out here compared to the Middle America Trench, Japan Trench. This area can see some upper 8s and maybe even some 9s out here. This is a fairly lengthy subduction zone here, and it's been a while since we've had any large-scale activity. Yeah, 7-pointer up here, that's fairly large, but that's a couple magnitudes there below what this area is capable of. So recent activity showing down south here, following that 6.0 event yesterday. Hawaii area, looks like we're lighting up slightly, but overall no major change out here. It's a waiting game, so to speak. Let me double check a couple graphs here, see what we have on this Friday night. Took Missy Mimi's out to dinner here at the Cattleman Steakhouse in Redding, California. Redding's kind of crazy up there, but they got some good food. The Cattleman Steakhouse is yummy. And I've seen a couple of the comments here on my most recent post. That was actually prime rib here, so you kind of have to cook that medium rare. Otherwise, it doesn't come out all that good. So it may have looked like it was mooing a little bit on my plate, but I've seen a couple of the comments there. But that's prime rib. Got to make sure that's cooked properly. And of course, the waitress there recommended it being medium, so that's what I went with. Earthquake activity, generally light. Couple smaller earthquakes out there around the area of Kilauea Volcano. Not really seeing anything major out here across the graphs here in terms of any major inflation or deflation event. We're just at a standstill. How long it's going to be like that? Who knows? Deeper activity down south here into the Pahala area. I think that's key to watching it as well. Watching the deeper activity. It may take a little time, but eventually that does work its way up through the plumbing system, the magma plumbing system, to affect the volcanoes here. Mauna Loa is fairly quiet for now, but Kilauea Volcano active. No eruption yet, but again, we're at a standstill. Just waiting and watching, seeing what happens here. New Zealand, 3s, and maybe a 4-pointer offshore there, it looks like, along the southern end of the Kermadec Trench. Looks like that's it. Other than that, just a little bit of minor adjustment going on here across the plate boundary. Nothing big for now, but there's quite a bit of accumulation of strain that's been building up in numerous areas there for quite a while there in New Zealand. All right, real quick glance here at the space weather activity, where, there's a little bit of auroras kicking up here right now. It wasn't really forecasted, but I'm guessing the BZ component there is still tipped south. Because we're seeing a little bit of the auroras tonight. Not that big of a deal, but if you're up there around northern tier states, Canada, definitely, Alaska, Iceland, Greenland, and then down in Antarctica, I don't know if I got any viewers down there, that'd be pretty awesome to get an email from someone, a scientist or something down in Antarctica. That would be crazy, but you never know, right? There's internet everywhere. Got internet covered all over the place out here as far as satellite base goes. Let me check out the real-time solar wind stream here and see what we got. It looks like that, see, it's fairly consistent here. That red line indicating the BZ component below this line here of the interplanetary magnetic field. When this is south here of this line, that allows pretty much any type of solar wind stream to flow in and amplify the auroras out there. So that's what we're seeing. We're not really seeing any elevated speed. It's all consistent and neutral. Just a general solar wind pattern out here. Temperature about the same. Nothing in terms of density. But when this stays pointed south like that, things really can kick up. Even if there's not a whole lot of recent CME activity. It's just a general solar wind that's being produced out here. And we can see that on this map right here. So put this into motion. Earth here in the green. This is the general solar wind pattern. So even though there's no CMEs being blasted off, look at that. There's a decent solar wind event coming in right now. And that looks like it's, that's what we're seeing. Yeah, just a consistent flow of solar wind stream. And again, Earth here in the green. We're in that wind pattern right now. That almost looks like a coronal hole that is in there. Let me look here real quick. But there really isn't. I don't see any major coronal holes out here, but man, goodness, we got a lot of solar wind stream flowing off the sun for an apparent reason, some apparent reason. Nothing major in terms of CMEs, but a continual pattern of solar wind stream. Little enhanced area. Either way, look for, maybe some auroras out there. Higher latitudes. Nothing major in terms of solar flaring activity. There's a number of sunspots out here along the eastern limb of the sun that we'll keep an eye on in the coming days. A couple newer regions out there as well that's not quite visible. It might get a little interesting here in the days ahead in terms of maybe some solar flare activity. We'll have to wait and see, though. Let's check out the numerical models. I've seen seen a couple folks out here throwing out the GFS image here of a major hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. Let me see what we got. I'm not for sure exactly where they were picking it up at, but there it is. Look at that. That is let's go. I'm going to go to a different image here. Yeah, eastern. Well, no, I can't really quite see down here. So, stand by for a second. North Atlantic will work, right? That's still a little bit small, but look over here. What looks like some type of very strong hurricane there in the Gulf of Mexico towards the second week of September, but that's a ways out here. You know, it's either way, it does look like maybe something's going to be developing out there. We'll have to check back in on that at a future date because, you know, trying to make a weather forecast there 10 days out on a tropical system is almost impossible. But the models are hinting at a very strong hurricane, at least with the GFS model here, entering into the Gulf of Mexico. We'll have to see where that goes. Other than that, let's see what we got here across the National Hurricane Center. A couple different developments here. 10% chance of some tropical formation here, it looks like, in the next 48 hours just off the coast of Texas, and a couple other developments out there in the Atlantic as well, but really nothing of concern at the moment. Seismograph stations out there look fairly quiet. Hot Caves, hello. Looks like Hot Caves is offline there, not for sure why, but hopefully it come back up. Aside from that, yeah, folks, enjoy your Friday. We'll keep an eye on things out here. See if anything changes. Enjoy your weekend. And we'll catch you guys back out here in the morning for the Saturday morning update. Stay safe out there.